Hello, everybody. Welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. Prepositions are really starting to throw me off. But last episode we ended with a rather interesting result. We defined sensorality in the negative, right? We said rhythmic motion is in time, which should be intuitively obvious. Go watch a sports game, proven. They'll say rhythm every 2 seconds because it's true. Rhythm is a cycle that does work. A vibration is a cycle that does not do work. So continuing with our definition, not going to do much introduction. If you're watching part 120, you're going to know what we're trying to do. Trying to find our definition for our axiom. But we have crossed the logic. We talked about bridging an axiom in the title of the last episode. Again, not really sure how to articulate that formally, but it certainly has happened. So now we're trying to reduce our proof. And so the way we do that is we define it in the negative, so we'll just continue on with our derivation. So we started last episode, or we made the differentiation between an integrated word and an amalgamated word. Integrated word should be very obvious. Just go look at a book, a magazine, any word that clearly has a base word that is built around, that is an integrated word, and then a more rigorous definition for the amalgamated words, two complete words that are just put together that have a different meaning together as opposed to apart. And so now what we can see is those words that you can have amalgamated words that are not integrated words. And what I mean is enforce. And so that's why we made that definition, because enforce, if I'm law enforcement, if I'm enforcing a rule, that it's spelled with an EN. So enforcement with an IN is not a word, and so we related that to sensorality. And so when you define it in the negative, it was the same with speciality. The reduction came in the negative definition. So we should be getting closer, but who knows? The definition will present itself when it does. But if we take a word that isn't a word and just add a space, right? If we have enforce, INFORCE, we can just separate it and then enforce. And then say in time with no space is not a word. Now if we just separate enforce, all we did was add a space. In the same way with our natural definitions, we just add spaces in superfluous words, whereas they don't change any meaning. And we have something that makes sense. Sensorality is the phrase enforce. Like literally, if you take any book in the direct sequence of in space force, you can put that as a dichotomistic pair. We're going to show logical substitution to that phrase specifically, if we haven't already. But a show of force is a demonstration in force. And so just using it in a sentence, not comprehensive at all, meaning there's infinitely other contexts in which you could use the phrasing in force. But typically think of because history well before computers or technology or me and you had a bunch of groups, we'll get to that, but a bunch of groups, right? We're all people, so hunters, gatherers, tribes, countries, nationalisms, religions, ethnicities played a massive role in forming identity and understanding the world before logic and reason, as proven by history. And so if you have two armies standing on opposing mountainsides, right? The terminology in force would typically come from military, and that's why it's in force in law enforcement, but at some point the I became an E. And so, at least for the English language, obviously, again, we're deriving logical results, so the results are independent of a given language. But sensorality is clearly an integrated word. It has a very clear base with a prefix, as opposed to two amalgamated, or two complete words amalgamated together. And so just showing that separation provides logical consistency from enforce not being a word to enforce being a phrase with two separate terms, two complete words. And so we can make another general statement, logical statement about the negative. All words that don't exist have no value. Don't overthink it. It's literally what it sounds like. If something isn't a word, it has no value, it transmits no meaning. That's why they don't exist. And so you can't say a word that doesn't exist. But what cannot be a word physically? Why can't something become a word? We've talked about human beings. We have a set amount of sounds we can articulate, and so we have to iterate those. We have a finite basis and an infinite range. But what cannot be a word from a physical perspective. Again, open questions. A string of sound without meaning, but that's just what categorizes a word, what describes a word, is just is a string of sounds with meaning, but trying to stick to the negative definitions. But it is structure without syllability. I wouldn't even say it's structure. But sensorality with a C, we haven't used that term in a while, but that is related to more intimately to the word structure, because structure is independent of life, of sentience. So that's a very emotionless word, structure. But structure without syllability, again, just any, I don't know, I'll X that out, I don't know what I'll put on the editing for that, I don't know what I meant by that. But, right, syllability is the ability to be a syllable, so just any sort of sound that doesn't have the ability to be a syllable. But now, what is an actual example of that? I don't know. So I'll just stick with all words that don't exist have no value. And the reason the words do exist is because they have value, they transmit meaning. And it's just a direct logical proof, but it's part of showing you all of these steps. Picture is to discrete what video is to continuous, connecting some logic just to, more emergent technological terms. A picture and a video, coming from technological development, but should be very clear to everyone that's ever been a kid with a flip book has done those things where you draw a picture on each little post-it and you flip through it and it looks like a little video. Discrete to continuous, with as you approach the limit of infinity of how many notebooks or little pages you have, just connecting more logic. What is force to logarithm? Right, and we have logarithm in the mathematical articulation. This is what you do, here's how you calculate it. But what is the physical motivation? Why do logarithms exist? Again, inflation, periods of rapid growth, then asymptotically leveling off, which is consistent through all physical growth, or not all physical growth, but enough to get what I'm saying to be legitimate. But what is force to logarithm? How does a forcing function, or how does biology force or chemistry force logarithmic or exponential increase? And again, increase is specific to our logarithm, because logarithm is a form of exponentiation, to increasing. And we'll get to that more on the mathematical operators today. Remind sensorality versus sensorality. Again, sensorality with a C versus sensorality with an S. My guess is, or I know that for the past several episodes, I haven't really said sensorality with a C, and you've kind of oh, where did that one go? But remember, the definition of sensorality with a S will completely contain sensorality with a C. And why did I make the differentiation? Because it's there. I don't make the answers are just there. So if any of these things just seem random, it's because language is I don't want to use amalgamated, but it's hodgepodge, it's patchwork, it's all over the place. And so, but what is force to logarithm? How about force to algorithm? Again, just relating two words and a physical property. What can we say there linguistically? So now we're going to get to our really fun result today.